Elliot had never been superstitious. He'd always chalked up old wives' tales and ghost stories to overactive imaginations, fueled by fear and the unknown. But that was before he moved into the apartment on Westbrook Street. It was a charming old building, the kind with creaky floors and vintage charm, tucked away at the end of a quiet street. The rent was reasonable, the location perfect, everything he was looking for. But there was something unsettling about the apartment from the moment he moved in. It wasn't the cracked walls or the drafty windows. It was something else, something that lingered in the air, a feeling like someone was always watching. It started innocently enough. He noticed, one evening as he was unpacking, that the old mirror hanging in the hallway seemed a little too large for the space. It was one of those antique mirrors with intricate carvings, the kind you might find in a museum. Elliot wasn't sure where it came from. He hadn't seen it when he first visited the apartment, and the landlord had never mentioned it. But there it was, reflecting the dim light from the hallway, its surface just a little too dark, the edges slightly warped. Over the next few days, Elliot's unease grew. He would pass the mirror and catch a glimpse of something in the reflection, something that didn't belong. At first it was subtle, a flicker of movement from the corner of his eye, a shadow that seemed to shift behind him in the glass. He would turn around, only to find the hallway empty. He told himself it was just his imagination, nothing more. But then one evening, as he was walking past the mirror on his way to the kitchen, he saw it clearly. In the reflection, his own face twisted into a grin that didn't match his own. A wide, grotesque smile, as if someone else was staring back at him through the glass. He froze, unable to tear his eyes away. His own reflection grinned wider, almost stretching, the edges of the smile splitting unnaturally. He stumbled backward, his heart pounding, and the reflection followed. It seemed to move independently, as if the glass was no longer just a reflection, but something alive. The next few nights, Elliot couldn't sleep. He'd wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, hearing strange whispers coming from the hallway. The mirror's surface seemed to ripple like water, and sometimes, if he stared into it long enough, he swore he could see other figures, people standing in the reflection, people who weren't there. Figures with hollow eyes, their faces frozen in eternal torment. One of them looked disturbingly like him. Desperate, he researched the history of the building. What he found only made things worse. Decades ago, a man named Charles Avery had lived in the apartment. Avery was a well-known recluse, obsessed with the occult and arcane rituals. Neighbors spoke of strange noises coming from his apartment, muffled chanting, scratching at the walls. They said he'd become consumed by something, that his mind had fractured. But the most chilling part of the story was the mirror. It was said that Avery had tried to use it as a portal, some kind of doorway to the other side. No one knew what happened to him, but after he disappeared, the mirror remained in the apartment, its origin shrouded in mystery. Elliot began to fear the mirror more than anything. It felt as though it was slowly taking control of his mind, pulling him deeper into its grasp. Every time he passed by, the whispers grew louder and the reflections in the glass became more distorted, more real. He could feel his own sanity slipping away, piece by piece. One night, unable to bear it any longer, Elliot took a hammer and smashed the mirror. The glass shattered, sending shards flying across the floor. The relief was instant, as if a weight had been lifted from his chest. But as he stood there, panting, something caught his eye. In the broken shards scattered on the floor, he saw his reflection. But it wasn't him. It was a twisted version of himself, grinning widely, eyes empty and cold.